The title of the night tonight is Modest is Not Hottest. I don't know if, when I was in high school, I remember like people having these shirts that said like, Modest is Hottest, and they're like youth group t-shirts and stuff. And so the title is kind of to pique your interest on like, wait a minute, what do you mean Modest is not hottest? And also to kind of pull us to a deeper level, because like Brad was saying at the beginning, when we say modest is hottest, then we're also like stooping to the level of being objectified. Like, so then I'm still getting dressed to like modestly think I have like the attention beyond me as like my physical appearance being what is like most important. Thanks, Annie.
You're welcome.
So I just wanted to read to you what the Catechism says the definition of modesty is. It says that modesty refuses to unveil that which should remain hidden, and it says that modesty protects the intimate center of the person. I thought that was really, in light of our title for the night, a good way to look at it. I'd never heard that before. Modesty protects the intimate center of the person. If you think of that in light of our identity as daughters of God, what we're trying to move modesty to being tonight then is to, instead of asking how I can dress in a way that like covers up enough and still look cute, instead we want to ask, how do I dress in a way that protects the intimate center of my humanity, of my identity as a daughter of God? So it kind of flips the whole thing on its head, really. And Michelle is going to talk tonight. She has a really neat perspective because she is a fashion designer. So this is a lot of her work is involved in people's appearance as well. So she has a really neat perspective on this. So give it up for Michelle.
I'm a recovering fashion designer, actually. I don't do it anymore, but a good majority of my life was doing fashion design and really being passionate about that. So kind of like to start out with like what Katie said. So as women, we are in fact daughters of Christ. I think that's the most important thing to remember when we think about modesty. And in that, being daughters of Christ, we have a responsibility to express the truth through ourselves and through our bodies. So we always remain in communion with Him. So when we focus on looking good, we're kind of whoa, boy. So when we focus on looking hot, we're making ourselves objects. Do we need a cheer? That's why we're women. We don't anyway, so I'm really glad they're having a good time, right? But the whole point is like we are daughters of God, and God created us. So in the beginning, obviously, He created Adam and Eve, man and woman. He created them, and they were naked, and they didn't have any shame about that. But then when the apple was eaten and sin came, into the world, everything became distorted and backwards, and suddenly they were shameful of their bodies, and they wanted to cover everything up. And I think that's kind of like what we need to focus on is our bodies are beautiful, right? Like, we're awesome. We're beautiful. Our bodies are way cooler than theirs. You know what I mean? Like, you look at a guy and be like, oh, his body's so beautiful. No, like, it's not like that. I don't know. And especially as an artist, like, some people think I'm weird, but, like, the woman's body, like, we're so, like, we have this beautiful, like, flow and curve to our body, and we're, like, made to bring things within us. You know what I mean? Like, we give birth. We're life-giving and life-creating. Like, they can't do that. I mean, it's kind of a big deal. So kind of that's the basis. So a little personal background. I feel like in everybody's lives there's like that one point where you're like, I feel different than everyone, right? You're like at school or whatever. And for me it was in 6th grade. Up until that point I was wearing like whatever I wanted. Like I was comfortable with who I was, but I didn't really realize that there was like a cool factor to everything, right? So 6th grade happened, and there were the popular girls, Charnel, Blair, and Christina. I still remember their names. That's how like big of like an impact it was in my head. And I'm still like, oh, they were so cool. Whatever. Oh, they're not that great anymore, but no, they're still really awesome. cool girls. They had like the cool jeans and like the great hair. And it was like the 90s, so like, you know, like Keds and like not skinny jeans because skinny jeans weren't invented yet, but kind of skinny jeans, like tight, real tight. And my mom didn't let me wear stuff like that. She was like, why do you need to wear tight jeans? I'm like, because they're so cool. I really want them. I want to be like them. But I felt like kind of really bad about myself then because people were like, Michelle's wearing stupid jeans. Like, my white jeans were up to here, you know, whatever. Look like your grandmother. I did, actually. So, no, but kind of in that moment, there was a specific moment where I was walking down the hallway behind them, like, because, you know, they all walk, and they're like, you're so awesome, strolling down the hallway. And I'm like, I want to know what brand of jeans they're wearing because that's so awesome. And in my head, like, that became so important that as I continued to grow older, I really focused my life around it. Like, how did they know what was cool, right? Like, that became kind of an obsession with me. And it kind of like, in doing this talk, I kind of realized like how that little one incident kind of led my life in a place that I don't know that it necessarily was supposed to go. So in 8th grade, 2 years later, I was still really wanting to be cool and popular and awesome. And I found out that you could be a fashion designer. That was a job. I had always liked art, but I was like, oh, I could design clothes. That's so awesome and cool. I can be trendy and famous. And like everyone would be jealous of me. So that kind of like started my want to be a designer. And literally, like, that continued my whole life through college. And I became a designer. And then, I don't know, like 2 years ago, I was in Colorado. It was funny because something in my heart changed. And I realized that the people that I was surrounding myself with were so focused on the exterior instead of the interior. And what we were showing and the way we were highlighting our bodies to make things more prominent, if you will, in some instances. And it didn't feel right to me. And I actually was like reading my journal last week, having like some Michelle time. And I came, which is so important, always do that. And I came across a little like passage where I was like, you know, I don't know that I'm in the right place in my life and I'm in the right profession because I still don't fit in. You know what I mean? Like, I had the cool title of a fashion designer, but it didn't feel right in my heart. So that's kind of like how I got back here, sort of, because that ended. God's great like that. I was like, my life is yours, God. Tell me where to go. And he's like, okay, we're done here. So back to Ohio I came, and had a lot of, you know, stuff in between now and then. But so that's kind of the preface. And I have a video. This guy, his name's his name's Father Thomas Loya. He's a priest. He's also an artist, so he has a lot of background in art and stuff, which I really connect to. I love him. I think he's absolutely amazing. So this is kind of talking about our bodies and what we really are as humans. So it's just like 3 minutes long.
It's okay if you can't really see that well, because it's more important. I just don't want to.
And it's kind of a silly video. It's like somebody videotaped it. So sorry about that.
Just like he's in the tabernacle church. She is called the tabernacle. And you ladies are the same way. You have a space that you were heaven and earth meet. That's a sacred space. And then the priests are supposed to guard that space and keep it holy. You have a sacred space. Your bodies are holy. That's the truth. If they are, then how do you present them? That's how you decide it's modest or not. It's not the body that's wrong. It's how it's presented, how it's received. That should give you a little standard. You know what? It's how the eye is led. The intention behind the dress, the style. Now, it's mostly for women. It applies to every circumstance, but mostly it's women's dress. Is that clear? See, it's just about being honest. What is our bodies? Our bodies are touch Holy Spirit, the community of Mother God, tabernacles, the image God, all that stuff we talked about. If that's the truth, what do you do? priest responds to a tabernacle. And you ladies are supposed to help and learn that. Now, one of the best ways is how you present your bodies.
So yeah, pretty powerful stuff. Like, I don't know about you, but I never really thought about it that way. But if you think about kind of like the best example, obviously it's Mary, right? Like, she was completely without sin, and God literally like took her womb and made it the tabernacle and put Jesus in her to come to us. So like, in that aspect, like, we have to think of ourselves the same way. And when we think of ourselves that way, what are we asking people to focus on with how we dress, right? Like, in college, I was in the fashion crowd. So it was very easy, and I definitely went through a period of time where, like, my breasts would be more exposed than they are now. You know, like, it was like low-cut shirts and, like, little skirts, and hip-hugger jeans were really cool then. And it never felt right, but I was doing it because everyone else was. So, kind of like we were talking about earlier, I was making myself an object. I chose that to make myself an object for other people. For, you know, I wanted to be like everyone else still. I wanted to be cool, and instead of feeling beautiful, it just felt gross. It was a bad feeling. So eventually I was like, and my mom's like, oh, where's your jeans up here? Why are you wearing that? Like, even we were talking about it last night, and she was like, I remember when you went through that phase, and it was so out of character for you. But I had to let you figure that out, you know? Like, she didn't like it, and she'd be like, put them away. But I was like, whatever, they're just boobs. It's not a big deal. But it was, because I'm like, that's suddenly a focal point for anyone I'm, like, talking to. Is like, hey, look at these. Not look at this and look at me as a whole person. I don't know, I think sometimes it's really easy to forget that. But like Father Thomas Loya said, we as women are the image of heaven on earth. That is a big, huge honor, but it's also a really huge responsibility. Like, so how do we kind of fix that? Especially in a world like where it's full of social media, right? Like, you go on Facebook, everyone's like, hey, look at me. I'm like, I did it today. I went running and I had mascara down my face. I'm like, that's so funny. I should take a picture of myself. Like, how narcissistic are we, right? but it's so like at our fingertips. Like with the men, like with pornography, everything is so close and so easy to get. Like, you guys know what's cool. You know what's cool before it's like cool. Like 2 minutes later, you're like, oh, like the Golden Globes are on tonight, right? Like, everyone watches the Golden Globes to see what pretty dresses everyone's wearing, so they know what colors are cool for the next season. It's like, who cares? Like, they're still not like loving themselves. They're just, it's kind of like they're all mannequins. Do you want to be a mannequin or do you want to be a person? You know, like, I don't know. I'm saying like a lot. Good example. This is kind of an embarrassing example, but it's an example. And I got really upset about it this week. This week's kind of been a tough week. Lots of stuff happening in my life. I was sitting down talking to my dad and my mom about like relationships and stuff. I have one sister getting married, another's pregnant. I'm like, now the pressure's on Michelle, get married, you know, whatever. I'm like, I'm not dating, like, not that I'm opposed to it, I'm open to it. And my dad looks at me and he goes, well, why don't you do yourself a favor and lose about 40 pounds? And I was like it was, I think I would have rather him smack me, because I think it would have hurt less. And I just looked at him and I was like, okay. Like, I understand what you're saying, you're right. But I want people to see me for me, not like my body. Like, I hope whoever, you know, I marry someday can look at Michelle and say, I love Michelle because she's an awesome person, you know, she has all these great qualities, and she's a good, like, she is her, not she's her body. And my dad, like, he's such a dude, and he was like, yeah, Michelle, that's all fine and good, but really it's all about the packaging. And I was like, oh. I didn't know how to respond to that, because I'm like, here's this man who I like love and respect so much, right? But like, even his view was like distorted by everything that we're surrounded by. And I'm like, please go to theology of the body. Like, I didn't know how to respond. I just looked at him and I'm like, well, okay, I'm just gonna go to my room now, because it really like, and even now, like, I'm like, I don't know if I should share this, because it's very personal, and like really just was like, whoa. But that's what we're up against, you know, like, that's what we're up against. And so how do you overcome that? And I think what Father Thomas Loya said is a really good example. Like, one, how do we see ourselves? Like, you all should see yourselves as beautiful, because you are. Like, every single one of you is amazing. I love coming here every Sunday because you all are so happy and vibrant, and it's such an amazing thing. And you all have each other to support. Like, use that, right? But, so, I don't know, don't fall into the trap. That's my warning. Don't fall into the trap. It's so easy to fall into that. And, like, a good example, right? Like, Katie and I could be wearing the same outfit. What's modest for me may not be what's modest for her, because our bodies are shaped differently. You know what I mean? So I'm not, like, here to be like, don't wear leggings, although I don't like them as pants. But you know, like, my sister is another good example. She's very small. She doesn't have any boobs. She doesn't have any. I do. And so she could wear, you know, like when she wears, like, she can wear shirts that are a little lower cut, and it doesn't look bad on her. It doesn't look immodest. Nothing's hanging out. You know, whatever. Me, not so much. I'm like. But the same is said. We have a couple of visual examples that Katie will bring up. So this is baby, right? Super awesome, super cute, naked little baby. Well, it has a diaper on, so it's not really naked. But like, this is pure and innocent, right? Then, and you guys may remember when this happened, Jessica Simpson's baby. She put her baby in a bikini. So I guess there's maybe a little bit of a cute factor to this, but like, the baby has boobs, essentially, in this picture. Like, it's putting something there that isn't. And it's drawing your eye to, it's taking the innocence out of a child and making it an object. Like, how disgusting is that? You know what I mean? Like, it's still a baby, so it's still cute, but it's completely out of, like, normal baby context. Do you guys, do you understand, like, do you feel the same way? Because I saw this, I was like, ah!
Yeah, it's just...
Babies should not wear bikinis. Another example was, I think it was like in the late 90s, early 2000s, probably before you guys were born. I was in high school, and or high school, like going into college, and Abercrombie Kids, right? Abercrombie's always like edgy and super cool and trendy, and there was this huge thing where Abercrombie Kids was making thongs for little girls.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that really happened.
That is so gross.
Right?
You still do that?
No, it's like that was the one good thing about this story. There was such backlash from like parents and mothers. They were like protesting against Abercrombie because like you're sexualizing a child. Like they need thongs under their little poofy party dresses. Like really? Like it didn't make sense. But for some reason the designers there thought that made perfect sense. They're like, clearly everyone needs thongs. No, not everyone did. So thanks God they like took them off the shelf real fast, and it was literally like a blink of an eye and they were gone. But again, it's like that's how distorted our society is, that they thought it would be okay to make thong underwear for children. Like, huh? On the opposite side of the spectrum, I have another example. So I think the thing with modesty is you can be super, super modest, right? Or like super like way not modest and like showing everything. But what about if, because like Father Thomas Loya said again, it's about where you're bringing the focal point to. So there's a painting that is a really famous painting. It's called Le Jardin. It's by Seurat. And so this woman here, right, totally covered head to toe, totally modest, right? Not so much. What do we got here? It's like, hey girl. So even though she's completely covered, she's still like bringing everyone's eyes to her behind. So it's like, so when you look at that, you're like, because you know, like you're like, oh, we're talking about modesty, cool, like I'll wear a turtleneck, whatever. Like, Gabby had like a mock burqa on, like that's totally modest. We should look totally like stupid or whatever. And like, no, it's not about that either, because it's just, it's how we see ourselves and how we act and how we want to present ourselves. The mock burqa that Gabby had on, I think that was a really good example too, because it's completely covered, right? And women in the Middle East, they still have to wear these sometimes. But I was watching another video of Father Thomas Loya. I love him. He's awesome. And he was talking about women who wear those burqas and how sad it was and how degrading it was, because men in that culture were taking the beautiful human body and completely covering it up, and therefore still objectifying them, like, you must cover everything because we can't see you as a person. So, and I was like, whoa, that's powerful, right? Like, so even in their, little eyes here, they still were seeing those women as an object of their desire instead of as a person and as creation of God in the image of heaven on earth. It just blows my mind. Like, totally, totally blows my mind. Okay, sorry, getting back on topic. But yeah, I think just kind of to, I guess, wrap it up a little. I don't know if I've talked long enough. I feel like I have. So I have a quote from JP2. This is one of my favorite quotes. So, sexual modesty cannot then be in any simple way identified with the use of clothing. I think that's the whole point of tonight. Like, it's not about what we put on. It's about how we wear it and how we act. Even, like, seriously, like, I was talking to one of my friends the other day, a male friend, and, we were talking about being prudent and, like, living chaste lives and all of that. And he said, Michelle, sometimes, like, yeah, you're a prudent person, but sometimes you talk about things that are not prudent. And I was like, ooh, I never really thought about that. Even, like, joking about, like, sex and stuff like that. I hang out with guys a lot because that's what I'm comfortable with. I'm like, hey, guys are cool. They don't judge like girls do. Whatever. I don't know. It's a weird thing. I had all sisters, so I was like, gotta hang out with guys. But that, like, really made me think. Like, it totally, like, made me think, like, you're right. I do that sometimes. And even, like, how we act, like, how we walk and how we talk to people, it really, it's the whole picture. Our bodies and our persons and how we speak and how we engage with others should all reflect that we're daughters of God. At the end of the day, that's what's the most important thing. And if they're not, then we really have to think about that and kind of, like, delve into some really tough questions and, like, how can we make that better in our own lives? Because it's not easy. It doesn't get easier. If anything, it's easy right now for you because you're in high school and you're, like, in this little bubble, right? Then when you get into the world, it just becomes worse. Sorry, it's true. Like, here's the truth, guys. But, so kind of just to wrap it up a little bit, I have another little gem here that I love. It says, modesty or immodesty can be understood first and foremost as an attitude of either recognizing or failing to recognize the human body as a gift, and either affirming or rejecting the value and dignity of the person. An attitude that is portrayed not just in dress, but also in